Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This goes out to whoever is still listening. Um, this is not a teaching moment. This is just me speaking. I've done a lot of research into Nephilim, Anakim, Raphaim, and the other tribes that are tied to what I call the Nephilim network. And there was a lot of gnosis that I got that paralleled what academic texts actually said. And there are some people doing research that I've seen um, who have written books that have talked about details that I've also seen within my gnosis. And when it comes to the Nephilim, a lot of people think that they are extinct. Okay, because they listen to people up on the pulpits and stuff like that. But if you read the Bible says the Nephilim existed before and after the flood. Okay, they're not going anywhere. The flood was not to destroy the Nephilim. Okay, I mean, if you read the book of Enoch, Noah's father was afraid of Noah when he was first born because he resembled the angels. Noah had the bloodline. Noah had the gene. And that gene was passed on to Ham, which was a patriarch of, or a descendant, an ancestor of one of the Nephilim tribes, the offshoots. So there's also texts that talk about a tribe of, a Nephilim tribe that took over Egypt without a fight. Okay, so there were a lot of texts talking about how these different tribes were eventually hunted down. There was constant war. Yes, but that doesn't necessarily mean, even though there was the intention of genocide, that they were all wiped out. There are some texts that talk about how they were absorbed into different cultures because they were taken prisoner. Okay, so eventually you interbreed with normal human beings, and then the Nephilim, if they were actual physical giants and that wasn't a metaphor, they get smaller and smaller, the bloodline, until they start looking like normal human beings. Okay, but these normal looking human beings that are of the Nephilim bloodline end up being extraordinary in some way within society. So you get tribes like the Raphaim, which are known as the heroes, and you get these stories about them. And those stories are passed down within mythology. Those stories are mirrored in our pop culture, our comic books, our movies, things like that. They're just retold, relabeled. There are female Nephilim, female Raphaim. And I've seen this within my gnosis. The one that I came in contact with, I'm going to date myself, but if anybody understands the reference, the one I came in contact with acted kind of like Xena, warrior princess. Okay. A lot of them do actually chill in Sheol. Okay. But, the texts talk about how they were cursed to be wandering spirits, wandering on earth. There's a lot out there that talks about the Nephilim being vampiric, and it's true. When you study the different cultures within the Levant area, okay, so I've delved into Chaldean demonology and spirit beliefs, Canaanite, Egyptian, things like that. It talks about when the ancestor spirits are ignored, their ghosts become hungry and thirsty. Okay, so the Nephilim, the Raphaim, the Anakim, their kind have been demonized, so they've been ignored. So their spirits have not been tended to by their descendants. So they're going to become vampiric. There's more to it. There's levels to this, though. They also, in a sense, mock our reality, our societies. So talking to one, they were bringing out that, their spirits are hungry all the time because there's nothing nutritious within this world. And that it's mirroring the vampirism that goes on, at least within the Western world. I'm sure it's in other parts of the world too, via consumerism. But if you look at it, our food doesn't have the nutrients that it should have. So we're constantly hungry. We're constantly eating. And so the Nephilim that I was talking to was pointing this out. We consume in the sense that we constantly look for validation. We look for likes. We look for people to comment via whatever social media you're on. Look for attention. Look for validation all the time. But we're rarely are we willing to reciprocate. We do that in our relationships where we look for to get sex, money, validation out of somebody. But within this society, this culture, it's become like a me, me, me. So there's a lot of vampirism within this culture. Yet, we consider the Nephilim to be monstrous. We consider them to be the enemies. Now, the thing is that back in the day, they had different names that described how they were seen within certain cultures. So at times they were seen as divine shepherds. And we know of one divine shepherd that is very, very popular within a certain religion. We see Christianity taking away from that, but demonizing the culture that it came from. We see them as heroes. Okay, so one thing that isn't understood is that the Nephilim tribes have been stereotyped, because you hear about one or a few doing certain things, you think, oh, they're all like that. But they're not. So the Nephilim are individuals. So each one is going to be different. So you may get one who does quote unquote heroic things. You may get one that is a dictator. You may get one that's very vampiric. It all depends on where they lean. But it is true. It's all true. They can be heroic. They can be vampiric. They do have red hair. They do have blonde hair. They can be associated with clowns or jesters. But the jester was one who was part of the royal court that told stories about heroes. And that's one reason why there's the symbolism of the jester or the clown behind Nephilims. Another thing is that the jester is a representative of someone who teaches secrets or truth in an unorthodox manner. Someone who mocks the truth and gets away with it. They were the ones that were able to tell royalty the truth to their face without being beheaded or killed, because they were the court jester. Nobody took them seriously. I don't know. There's still a lot going on, still doing a lot of research. I don't think the research is ever going to stop. If anybody is out there who is like that, who is part of that, yeah, definitely come find me. I think I've come upon, I know I've come upon different spirits that are connected to that Nephilim network. And that's everything dealing with the Nephilim. I'm talking about the fallen angels, talking about the sons and daughters of the fallen angels, the sons and daughters of divinity. People think that the Nephilim are just like the children of angels. And no, it's the whole collective. So, and you have, I mean, some Nephilim, like some of them are elite status. Some of them they choose not to be royalty. A lot of them are just wanderers, going from place to place because they can't fit in within society, so they just get in where they fit in at the moment. So yeah, that's I guess that's my rant about the Nephilim, or what I found out about them. There's a lot of interesting information if you dig. You can get some stuff out of books that are about practical magic and connecting with the Nephilim, yes. But I feel that there's a lot more if you go the academic route and then choose to create your own ways of connecting with them, if that is what you're into. So, yeah, that's all.